Consistent with the changing times, the city of Ann Arbor, Michigan passed an ordinance taking marijuana possession out of the criminal code and making it a minor offense, the equivalent of a parking ticket. A year later, after a groundbreaking vote in its legislature, Oregon became the first state to completely decriminalize marijuana.
Here is a state that is not afraid to plow new ground in an area where there's a lot of hysteria. It's not going to be very widely understood, but I think as you look back over the handling of drugs, if you can keep it in for a few years, you'll see it was landmark legislation.
In 1974, with legal problems of his own, Richard Nixon resigned from the presidency.
We don't want any penalty for the private possession and use and cultivation of marijuana.
A study in Oregon, 4 years after decriminalization, showed no increase in marijuana use and a substantial savings of tax dollars formerly spent on law enforcement. By that time, 10 other states had decriminalized marijuana. Continuing Nixon's war on drugs, fill-in President Gerald Ford ordered U.S. forces to spray Mexican marijuana fields with the military defoliant Paraquat. But in the upcoming presidential election, he found himself running against an unexpected opponent.
Appreciate your vote.
I do favor the decriminalization of marijuana.
Can our government be competent? Jimmy Carter says yes. Jimmy Carter says yes.
Tonight on Headline News, President Carter proposes major changes to federal drug laws.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana, leaving the states free to adopt whatever laws they wish concerning marijuana.
Due in part to advocacy by the decriminalization movement, the government was finally preparing to abandon its war on marijuana smokers.
Hijo de la chingada. Is that a joint, man? That goddamn looks like a quarter pounder, man. Led Zeppelin.
Hey, be careful with that shit, man. Talk it out, man. Kind of grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
It was vintage, man.
Mostly Maui Wowie, man.
Yeah?
But it's got some Labrador in it.
What's Labrador?
It's dog shit.
What?
Yeah, my dog ate my stash, man. So I had to follow him around the little baggie for 3 days before I got it back.
That's some heavy shit, man. Hey, man. Am I driving okay?
I think we're parked, man.
Well, all right, you squares. It's time you smoke. Everybody get high.
In the permissive 70s, marijuana seemed to be everywhere. Through movies and television, it had entered the popular culture.
The FBI claims that a huge shipment of grass, which they are calling killer dope, has been smuggled into New York City. The Bureau urges users not to smoke the weed, which is greenish-brown in color, not particularly seedy, and contains mostly cannabis buds. Warning symptoms are a mild euphoria, a slight rise in the pulse rate, some hallucination, and death by laughter within 15 minutes of ingestion. In an effort to aid the FBI in its investigation, Weekend Update is undertaking its own analysis of marijuana sent to us anonymously by any viewers who may be worried. Simply place a small sample of the suspected cannabis in an envelope and send it immediately to Chevy Chase, Department 12, 827 West 81st Street, New York City, 10053.
But not everyone was laughing. Worried about teenage marijuana use, a number of concerned parents organized pressure groups to fight the new drug culture.
This is a dashboard pipe that fits onto the dashboard of your car so that you can put pot in here, and then the driver and his date can get stoned as they're tooling down the freeway. This is designed to put some pot in, and then you smoke the pot out of here. Now, you can toss a smoke to a friend if you want to. There are things like bongs, that's B-O-N-G. You put the pot here, light it, the smoke travels down here, collects, and then you get a concentrated volume of smoke by sucking in like this. And I think the label is instructive. Bong, the only thing wasted is you. This too is a bong. It's called a power hitter, and it works by sticking a joint here and then blasting it into your lungs like this. Now, it comes as a Star Wars space gun also.
Hello, Gary.
Just put it in boxes and bags. We'll make the,
Y'all gonna have to leave, I'm sorry. And you are closed, officially closed as of now.
Most of the afternoon was spent trying to decide what actually were head shops and drug-related paraphernalia. Managers and owners from head shops around the area testified that the law is now so ambiguous that possibly as much as 80% of their inventory could now be considered illegal. One owner admitted he may be out of work within the week. Most of the afternoon was spent trying to decide what actually were head shops and drug-related paraphernalia. Most of the afternoon was spent trying to... Most of the afternoon was spent trying to decide what were head shops and drug-related paraphernalia. Owners and managers of head shops around...
In the midst of this backlash, Dr. Peter Bourne, Carter's chief drug policy advisor, was caught up in a scandal involving alleged cocaine use. As the press had a field day, the president could no longer afford to appear soft on drugs. His proposal to decriminalize marijuana would die in Congress.
I'm sick and tired of hearing about all of the radicals and the perverts and the liberals and the leftists and the communists coming out of the closets. It's time for God's people to come out of the closets, out of the churches, and change America. We must do it.
Driven by a sense of righteous indignation, the religious right mobilized into a potent political force. After a brief period of tolerance, America was poised for a major swing the other way.
Leading medical researchers are coming to the conclusion that marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug in the United States, and we haven't begun to find out all of the ill effects, but they are permanent ill effects. The loss of memory, for example.
This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Just say no.
Just say no.
In her crusade for a drug-free America, Mrs. Reagan led school
Are
children...
police officers in schools to spy on
The
your
president
children?
today ordered mandatory drug testing for all federal employees. He then called for the nation's industries to screen their
The Supreme Court has given school principals the right to strip search any student suspected of drug possession.
Citing a threat to national security, the president today signed legislation allowing law enforcement agencies to seize property from
Under President George Bush's new zero-tolerance policy, marijuana smokers...
Using illegal drugs is against the law.